Yeah, that's like my wife. Hello, and welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast in association with the Scottish Rugby Blog. Hang on a second. Jonny McGinty, look at me. I'm the captain now, Jonny McGinty. Okay?
You did so well.
I'm Craig, and I am currently reading absolutely to the dot from my notes so that I don't make any mistakes about when we record the pod and when you're listening to it. So I'm trying my best to do incredibly well. I'm just a wee pat in the back there. Joining me tonight is our resident doctor and ambassador of Shush, Allan McDonald. How you doing, Allan?
Very well, thank you. And the full of sleep hygiene everywhere.
Well, actually, yeah, our sleep hygiene guru is also joining us, Jonny McGinty. How you doing, Jonny?
I'm very good, sir. 6 more days of work. I'm over the moon.
Yeah, and then you'll be free. I know how that feels in this household because I'm getting it in the ear as well from the current Mrs. Manson. And also to show that not all Americans have lost their minds. Our man from the colonies, the Scrum of the Earth himself, and also the latest Mall Street Journal specialist stroke host stroke contributor have a listen because it all talks about American rugby. It's fantastic. David Lawrence, how are you tonight, mate?
Doing great. It's so nice to see you all. Yes, that was a lot of strokes. I'm not used to that many strokes at this time of day, but yes, the Scrum of the Earth is still going strong. Pretty much interview only format. Allan is going to be coming on the show pretty soon. I've got Sammy Sullivan from the Eagles Sevens coming. Brett McKay from Australia, punditry. Lots of great people kind of boiling on my nerdy little fire here. So, but the Wall Street Journal is the much more popular show that I'm doing, which does concentrate on American rugby, which means it's often pretty depressing, especially when we ship 85 points to the Scotland under 20/over 40s.
Yeah, well, I was going to be polite and not talk about that tonight, but seeing as you brought it, no, we'll not talk about it. We'll
Ironically, I think we had a better autumn than y'all did.
Oh, well, okay, touche, sir.
Remind me who invited him again.
I was going to say, good day to you, sir. I said good day to you, sir. Why does no one ever leave when I say good day to them? Anyway, that's another West Wing quote there for you, David, that's totally out in a bit of
I appreciate it.
corner. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Our podcast is part of the Sports Social Network. Don't forget to give us a follow or a like on your favourite podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and don't forget to give us a follow on social media. You can find all the links on our site, www.scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. You're also, if you're listening on Apple and like what we do, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Now we have a wee thing that we do, which is we have a Patreon side of things. If you'd like more content, you like what we do, and you want to support what we do, you can subscribe to our Patreon from just £3 a month plus the VAT, and that gives you access to our super secret Facebook group that Ian Hay exposed to everyone, and just told everyone who it was. But anyway, that's a different story. And the second part of tonight's podcast, we miss Ian Hay. Where is he going?
He always gets sent on the worst Scottish Premiership reporting jobs, I think. He's probably still throwing himself out from being in Troon the other week.
But then it's, he's doing a good job, so I suppose we have to let him get on with it. If you want to hear about the second part of tonight's podcast as well, Patreon exclusives, you can go to www.patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast, I think it is, and you can join our patrons, and you can also listen to our patented and no other Scottish Rugby podcast has this on it, our Hands in the Ruck session.
Two things. One, you have to stop saying patented. We were told that in no uncertain terms, because unless we have a patent, it's not patented. Rihanna Garth Jones gave me in big trouble for you saying patented when it's not.
Don't worry, we've got some funds for her.
Have you written everything down except for the address for the Patreon?
I have. Everything is written down. It sounds so professional till I go, oh, and then you can see my head going like one of those dogs that doesn't understand what you're saying to it.
It's great anytime you read out a long URL and then finish with, I think.
Yeah. Well, I've got to leave. I've got to bring my professionalism down slightly, just to join up with Jonny and Allan and everyone. I've got to bring that professionalism. Oh.
Am I catching strays? Just checking for you. It's patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast, but I'm not going to say that now, Craig.
Got it right. You know what it is,
Allan? What top are you wearing?
I'm wearing the We Stand With Ukraine one that the Scottish legends wore for the Sevens against the rest of the world legends, run by Ewan Tukalo. Someone sold them. It was a bit neat when I bought it, and I can now fit into it. So I'm like, I'm wearing that.
Nice. Well, Allan, I'm sorry.
I don't know if you noticed, I'm wearing the jersey that I debuted on Cammie's last episode on this very show, and we all collectively agreed that this is what a Scotland jersey would look like if Scotland was not in fact a country, but was in fact a town in Florida.
Is it the really hideous one with the lion rampant and stuff on the bottom? Isn't it? Oh no.
Oh yeah.
No.
Hey, listen, I think we discussed that as well. I think we discussed the one that Jonny McGinty and I have in our wardrobe. That we went to Italy on tour with the over 35s How team, and our friend Ian Manson went on to the was it Akuma?
It was Akuma, yeah.
Akuma went on the Akuma website and ticked all the boxes. So it had chainmail, and it had a 6-pack on it. And it had.
Would you like this jersey to be designed by a hyperactive 6-year-old mainline in blue Smarties? Yes.
Yes.
It was, mind you, it fitted me, and it was fabulous, and we could find each other in Rome.
Great top.
Yeah.
Well, this is a direct result of searching the words Scotland jersey cheap.
That's most of the jerseys we look for are exactly the same.
I've actually got an even better jersey than that Italy Tour one in my drawer, because when I played for Gav's charity team, so Gav Thomas, friend of the pod, arranged a big charity match for raising money for one of his friends who passed away, and apparently his friend, I don't know the exact story, something to do with a hotel, and he didn't want any eggs for his breakfast, so the top is bright yellow and covered in white eggs all over it. It's fucking absolutely hideous. I've got that as well. We'll have to
timestamp that as well and get the, we're not on Patreon, Jonny, but anyway, that's but I've seen it, and it deserved a bit of a swear. So anyway, so any of those listening that hear that, I do apologise. I'm trying to be professional, like the people that say, "Oh, I apologise for the foul language you've heard on."
You might have picked up a little bit of bad language on the referees.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got to stop. They've got to stop mentioning it.
We're way past.
I actually think it's a broadcasting requirement that they apologise for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is why when Andrew Cotter when someone went tackle him, but with more emphasis, shall we say, and Andrew Cotter said words to live by, and like a couple of minutes later, clearly someone's going, Andrew, will you just apologise?
Please say sorry. It's the law, Andrew.
So, Allan, just a quick apology to you for the start off at the beginning. That was mainly because Jonny McGinty was winding me up on Messenger earlier on prior to me coming on. So, poor old David and I were having a chat, and he got the whole story and all my swears at that point. So anyway,
it's so unusual for me to be winding you up as well.
Yeah, I'll get you back in a minute because we're about to talk about Glasgow and the Ospreys. No, Scarlets actually. Anyway. We will move on. The news. Prop news, Alan McDonald. Prop news. Rory Sutherland has committed to Glasgow until 2028. And that's the old prop news. New prop news. And soon to be leaving Edinburgh to go to Glasgow, because that's what usually happens with high-class forwards. Ollie Blythe Lafferty has signed his first professional contract until 27-28 season with Edinburgh. The 19-year-old prop who, after an amazing start, both with coming off the bench against it was Ospreys that we were playing against. Yeah, that's it. And then starting against Toulon. We finally have, hopefully, fingers crossed, someone to give Xander Fagerson a bit of a break. Allan, I'll come to you on this one. Ollie seems to be something special.
Yeah, he looked very, very good against Toulon on Sunday night. I thought it was, I thought he looked very, very good, solid in the scrum, good in the loose. Yes, I do think we've hopefully got someone that can give Xander a bit of a break, but I'm kind of trying to avoid saying that just because we've had a lot of people who we thought might give Xander a break who have fallen by the wayside, but it does look like young Ollie's got a wee bit more to him than that, than the others. So fingers crossed that we don't in any way ruin his potential and that he continues to develop as he has been doing.
Yeah, and it seems to be a way that Edinburgh seem to be going at the moment. They're starting to finally bring through some younger players that are getting a chance to play, following on from Franco Smith, Jonny. Rory Sutherland's a great Edinburgh player as well. Lions player, Scotland international. I think Glasgow are right to re-sign him, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he's had some horrific injuries, and he's had some really bad luck as well to come back from the injury, came back from, and end up at Worcester, and then have the club just suddenly disappear. It's just a brutal couple of years for him, and we did see flashes of him being back to himself the last couple of months. So, hopefully a bit of stability in a Glasgow setup where he knows a lot of the players. I think, it'd be nice to see him back. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. And David, we have a dearth of props, especially at tight head, but even in loose head, we seem to be dragging, really dragging the bottom of the barrel at times to get a set of props to play for both Glasgow and Edinburgh. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we're starting to go in a different direction.
Yeah, this is something you've talked about on this show a lot, and something that I know has been a fear. And I feel like it's early. The jury's probably still out, but I also feel very optimistic. I think you said he's just 19. Is that right?
19 years old, yeah.
That's pretty great. And obviously, the tendency is to put too much on somebody at that age too soon. But I feel like with sort of cautious optimism, this is really good news. This is sort of stealth good news.
Yeah, very much so. And I guess, there are comparisons to be, Allan, there's comparisons to be held with Xander as well, because Xander was young when he first got kind of chucked in at the deep end, and everyone went, "Oh, this prop is far too young, and he showed a little bit of his rough edges before, but he came through, and now we're looking at someone who was a lion before he got injured.
I think the difficulty, is Xander is perhaps he developed in spite of the start that he had rather than because of it. Because it wasn't that when VP Nell had the horrible neck injury, and Xander was basically in, and it was Simon Bergen was the understudy, and actually Xander kind of basically like chucking a child in the water to see if they can swim. It's not to be recommended, and I think, yeah. But hopefully the presence of a fit Xander will mean that Ollie Blythe-Lafferty can be eased into the international setup a bit better than Xander was. As I say, Xander's done great. He's one of the best tight heads in the world. But yes, I think we hopefully will be able to give young Ollie a better
there's people already calling for it to be put straight into the squad already. So, and I should stop. I should really get off X. Anyway,
with a name that long, it's going to be hard to find a cool nickname, though.
Yeah, Ollie Onion, I suppose, because that's what everyone used to. When we used to get that when we came in with a spiky bit of our hair that we'd been sleeping the wrong way. And you come into school and your hair. I did have hair once, and you had a bit of a coos lick, which we also used to call it, and people would come up and rub their knuckles on your head and go, "Ollie Onion." Yeah, you could call them that. Or I think we've had one of our YouTube followers or listeners, Mark, has said obelisk. So there's OBE. Yeah,
I stand corrected. That was good.
Yeah.
Also, he's OBL, isn't he? So it could be Obladi, Oblada, if we're going down the Beatles route.
Just OBL's fine.
OBL sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds way cooler than anything we've ever come up with, but that's a different story. Moving on, Glasgow and Edinburgh have both announced their Celtic Challenge squads. Glasgow standouts seem to be basically, I think they've taken most of Stirling County's squad and made them into Glasgow players. Skye Fimster returns from returns. We've got where now Gemma Bell returns as well after making her Scotland debut against England in Six Nations. We've also I'm slightly conflicted here again, and it's all George Horn and Pete Horn's problems here, because we've got Sam. Now, Sam, you have to really excuse me if you're ever listening to this, because I always get your name completely and utterly wrong.
I always just call her Sam. Yeah,
Sam Taganakuru. Now, she is a fabulous back row player. Played for the How of Fife, and then has came and played youth How of Fife, and then into the main team, and then she's now gone to Stirling County and is going to have the chance to pull on a Glasgow jersey. Glasgow seem to be getting a bit more serious about this, Jonny, and hopefully they're going to start seeing a bit better results, even though they beat Edinburgh at one point last year.
Yeah, I hope so. It's been a rough couple of years in the Celtic Challenge for Glasgow, but the coaching setup's looking really interesting this year. The squad looks good. We've got 2 Ainsworths in the squad this year. Katie Ainsworth's a hell of a player. So it's nice to see her. It's nice to see Holland Bogan back as well. She had a great Celtic Challenge last year, I thought. So it's like we just spoke about with Edinburgh men's team. It's kind of green shoots appearing, young players coming through and kind of starting to get a little bit more put together, because it's been a rough start. Like there's no getting away from it. So yeah, hopefully we can build on that a little bit.
I would have to say as well, there's the 2 Highland players that were in the squad last season are in again. Ailey McGilvery in the forwards and Rihanna Darragh at the scrum half. They both played age grade for Scotland, so I'm hoping that they have a consolidating what they did last season and can build on it.
Absolutely. And Edinburgh's Edinburgh really have announced a really strong squad, hopefully, and fingers crossed they're going to do something this year. They've got Scotland contracted players in Adele Ferry, Ayla Ronald, Alex Stewart, Hannah Ramsey, all Scotland players. Hannah Walker, who was the top try scorer in the Celtic Challenge last year. Meryl Gunderson, Molly Pullman, all Scotland players. They've also been joined by someone a Scotland international who I thought was retired in her youth, and it's great to see a Nicola Howitt coming back on, and she's been included in the squad. And so we've now, it's really weird to see that's another. So now we've got 4 Howe 5 players involved.
She's kept that to herself, by the way, because
she really has
with Nick at the same time quite a lot, and so me and Nick chat a lot through the week, and she did not mention a single word about it. No, so when I see her on Saturday morning, we'll be having words.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's great to see. So yeah, David, looking in it from outside in, Celtic Challenge, what's your thoughts on Celtic Challenge? Do you think it's going to be something?
I wish I had something brilliant to say here, because this is yet another competition that is unavailable here, at least as far as I know. And believe me, I look hard. I watch a lot of competitions. Is it really? So I've watched Super 6. There was a thing on like Friday early afternoons where I am. You could watch Super 6 live. That disappeared. And this I've never seen. If it's available on YouTube, I can't wait, because I'm going to dive right in. And by the way, this hole in the competitions I'm able to see, it's we're going to get to it in Hands in the Ruck. It's a whole thing. And I almost had to break up with rugby entirely this weekend. I'm so mad. And so this is really good news. This is the best news I've heard in a while.
Yeah, I have to say I have fallen out with rugby this weekend, but more the delivery of rugby on TV this weekend. But that's a different story as well. Probably fairly similar to yourself, David. Well, for me,
we'll get to it.
Yeah. For me, I think certainly Edinburgh, with the squad they have, should be able to do something. The Glasgow, I think, are going to come strong, slowly but surely. But I think Glasgow need to build a little bit more, and they had a bit of a stuttering start, but I think they'll do something well as well. So we've got both Glasgow and Edinburgh playing on the 20th of December. It's the first game. Edinburgh travel to Ireland to play the Irish Wolfhounds, which is a tough game, and Glasgow travel to Wales to take on Brighton Thunder. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll get onto YouTube and have a look and see if we can get as many people watching these games as we can to bring on, and hopefully they'll then start maybe giving us some professional contracts for the Edinburgh and Glasgow players as well, and moving them forward. URC, we'll cover a couple of URC things just because we never got a chance to.
Yeah, well, we missed last week. Last week's gone. It's in the
last
past.
week.
Let's just talk about Champions Cup.
We never got a chance to discuss last week, and I would hate to undercharge our fantastic listeners by not talking about Edinburgh beating Ospreys, squeaking past Ospreys, and Scarlets nilling. I will repeat this: nilling. Dramatic pause. Glasgow, and So Edinburgh 19, Ospreys 17. Allan, half-time, we had tries from Tom Curry, Harry Morris and Harry Patterson. It was 5-5 at half-time, and then it seemed to be they started to score. A really tough game from what I can see, but a valuable 4 points in the URC for Edinburgh.
I think, it's the old cliche, isn't it, that being able to win ugly is, good teams find a way to win regardless of how it's going. And we have, heaven alone knows, we've berated Edinburgh enough for not being able to do that. It's a wee bit disappointing that they had to resort to winning ugly, given how depleted the Welsh teams were. But that's perhaps a point we shouldn't labour, just in case Jonny spontaneously combusts.
Oh, I've got it laboured and underlined on my bit of paper here about how.
Just out of interest, what's the policy on gestures before we get to the Patreon? We don't have to bleep those out, do we?
No, they don't need to be. They don't need to be bleeped out.
You don't need to bleep any gestures out, Jonny. But yeah, I think David, looking in from outside again, Edinburgh really needing to start. They need a good season, especially Sean Everett needs a good season. We talk about this regularly, David, when we're messaging back and forward, and when we've had a chat ourselves. And your take on is we'll talk about obviously the European game and the Patreon side of things, but that seems to that's Sean Everett getting a couple of games winning, no spoilers, in a row. Hopefully it's a positive move for Edinburgh.
Yeah, I have weirdly vague positive feelings about Edinburgh this year, though I almost think if they have a successful season, that'll be a reason to keep the coach around, and then it'll be just like the Scotland team where it's like, oh, well, that was just good enough, so we're not going to get a good coach. I don't have much faith in him. I think both Scottish teams are suffering too from the Professor Umbridge style of David Nucifora, who's like coming in and bringing his little hatchet around. But I just feel like there's something different going on in Edinburgh this year. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but I put together some silly numbers and stuff that I think point to positivity. Like you said, couple wins in a row. They needed that. There's interesting things. It's mostly just a feeling now and completely unscientific. But I feel like the directions of these two teams are going in opposite directions. I feel like Glasgow are a little off the boil this year, and I think Edinburgh have figured some things out that they haven't been doing right in a couple of years.
Yeah, and if you want to bring some numbers in, you can bring some numbers in.
Oh, well, I got funny stuff. So I tried to, really dive in and look at as many stats as I could, Glasgow versus Edinburgh, but because of the missing game, those numbers are all inherently slanted. So I did some really dumb, like dim-witted math. So people talk about crunching the numbers. I would say I probably crunked the numbers in some way. So I did something with them, though whether or not it's scientifically valid, I don't know. But so with a small sample size and Edinburgh playing one fewer game, I sort of prorated the stats I was looking at, and I looked at a few of them. So according to my, again, dim-witted model, if Glasgow had only played 5 games, they'd have scored 134.2 points, which isn't a ton, more than Edinburgh's 128. If Edinburgh, conversely, had played a 6th match, they should have around 153.6 points. Again, not too far off Glasgow's 161. And the other couple of things I noticed, like Edinburgh are right now slightly ahead in terms of turnovers lost. And using my model, if Edinburgh had played 6 games, they'd still have 4.8 fewer conceded turnovers. And if you pretend Glasgow had only played 5, they'd have conceded 4 more. So in both cases, it feels realistic and kind of matches. And then that final thing, like Edinburgh, they've gotten a losing bonus point in all 3 losses this season. And does that maybe indicate a strength of character that was perhaps lacking the last couple of years?
Great stats, by the way.
I don't want him back anymore.
Well, this is such an antidote to the pod I did with John and Jonny. I tell you, this is wonderful.
My crunked numbers are working.
Crunk numbers. You can bring crunk numbers anytime you want, David. That's it helps. It helps me, cheers me up about Edinburgh regularly. What the good thing though is that well, last year what was more annoying with Edinburgh, I think, was that over the last couple of seasons, we have got a few losing bonus points. That seemed to be, we're getting closer. That was one of Sean Everett's kind of things to grab a hold of was, look, if scores had just gone a little, if we'd done 10% extra here and 10% extra there, we would have turned these games over, especially some of the South African games. So I think it's, Jonny, I suppose we are kind of knocking on the door with Edinburgh the same way as we're knocking on the door with Scotland if everything goes right with this and that and the other, then actually we're a really good team. But it's the this and that and the other that doesn't go right.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's hard and it's frustrating for me, and I'm not even an Edinburgh fan, because, like you say, it sounds like a bleed over from Scotland. And it's just so much like, we were so close. If this had gone away, we'd have been fine. We were so close. If we'd done this, would have been fine. It's like, that's okay occasionally, but it seems to be that's the answer more often than not. And if there's one or two things, little things not going your way every single time, at some point you've got to stop saying that that's unlucky. Because if they don't go your way half the time, then maybe that's a little bit of luck. If it's 3/4 of the time you're coming out and saying, if only this had gone our way, we'd have won, then you've got to start thinking, well, why are these things not going your way almost all the time?
Yeah, and I guess as you say, and Allan, we talk about that French try that was never allowed in the Six Nations, and it's like, well, or referees' decisions that go against us that cost us the game, and we kind of think, well, yeah, but maybe if we'd actually done this, that, and the other correctly, we would have been 2 tries ahead in the first place.
Yeah. I can't believe I mentioned her for the second time this afternoon or this pod, but whenever I speak to Ree, her thing is like, in a game that you win or lose by less than a score, you can't blame the referee, which I think is a very valid way to look at it. Like, if the game's that close, it's not the referee that made you lose it, it's the fact that you didn't score enough points.
And generally speaking, referees are bad, and they can be bad, and they sometimes have howlers. But I mean, I genuinely don't believe in the Cam light today, despite what I hurl at the air at Murrayfield. I don't believe any referee is biased against us. I think people sometimes make bad decisions, but they make bad decisions for other teams too. I think it's just, and I think you're absolutely right, Jonny. I think it's almost the inverse of the sort of Gary Player thing. The more I practice, the luckier I get. We just keep getting unlucky, and after a while, you have to stop saying, if things have just gone differently, and working out how to make things go differently, and that's part of the malaise with Scotland. And maybe Sean Everett's, the last couple of games, Sean Everett's maybe finding a way to do that, and having called for him to go, I'd be delighted if he turns it round, I have to say.
It's a great famous quote from Napoleon, who said, "Give me lucky generals."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about down on the luck, we've got 7 minutes to talk about Glasgow, Jonny. Glasgow, Scarlets 23, Glasgow 0. And believe me, Edinburgh have gone down to Wales and absolutely sucked too. So we can't. I'm trying to enjoy myself, but I'm not, because I know that karma will come back and bite me in the backside. 2 tries from Scarlets, but 3 penalties lead to 3 points each time from the beleaguered Welsh. So Jonny, no tries from Glasgow. Was Jonny Try Machine Matthews not playing?
I think the main thing that concerned me after that game, and then the whole week basically leading up to the European games, is that I was quite happy to say there were very, very, very few frontline Glasgow players involved in that game. But the real problem is that 2 of the 3 frontline players who started had probably among the worst games I've ever seen them play. Like, Johnny Matthews went out and resolutely proved why he's not in the Scotland squad, because he had a stinker. And then
was there a football about somewhere? Sorry.
Worse than that, for the first time really that I can remember, Josh Mackay was howling in that game. And Glasgow struggle when Josh Mackay doesn't play well. And we're lucky because he very, 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 very rarely doesn't play well, but that was one of them. And I don't remember seeing him have that bad of a game. So for me, like, the thing that concerned me, I was a bit like, I don't mind if 12 players who aren't usually in the squad have a stinking game and we get battered. Like, it's annoying, but I think we'll still be in the playoffs at the end of the season. What worried me was that we retained 3 frontline players, one of whom in Kyle Rowe, who'd just come back from the Scotland camp, and he was about the only one that showed up. That to me was a worry.
Yeah, and David Holy, Josh Mackay. Josh Mackay is the unformed 15 at this moment in time. Lots and lots of people calling for him. Now, Jonny, is he Scotland qualified yet?
No, not until November, sadly. I thought it was this year's Six Nations, but it's not. It's autumn next year. He's Scots.
Many people, David, calling for Josh Mackay to be supplanting Blair Kinghorn in the Scotland squad, etc. Well, he had someone who is, just as Jonny says, he plays incredibly well, had a stinker.
It's interesting. I love Josh Mackay, and I see it too. He's got that X. It's so cliche, but he has that X factor. You see it in the lines he picks, in the way he runs, his elusiveness. You see him. You only have to see him for 3 minutes before you go, oh, something's happening with this guy. But supplanting BK. We've talked about it so much. Kinghorn has so come into his own since going to France, and he's become such a great player. We talked about it a year ago. He was their choice over other great internationals to start in the European final. Can you give that away? I mean, both of them have some malleability in terms of other positions they can play. I want them both in the squad. Is this, as they said in The Wire, is this what you call one of them good problems?
Yeah, it has to be, doesn't it? Really, when we look at, and then you then have to think about, well, you may have Josh Mackay in your squad, but will Townsend use him because Tom Jordan is the Swiss Army knife of Scottish rugby, and Allan, he was not used to his potential in the Autumn Nations.
No, although the thing about Swiss Army knives is, unless you get a really good one, they just are slightly suboptimal at doing every job they can do. And I say that as someone that owns about 4 or 5 Swiss Army knives. But
but you wouldn't say it about Tom Jordan, though, would you?
Well, I'm still not convinced about him at 12 for us, I have to say. But I think he does he's a very good option at 10, reasonable option at 12, and an excellent option at 15. So, I think Tom Jordan's a very, very good player who needs to be in there around the squad. But Josh Mackay's also fantastic. And I think, they talk about human factors and things going wrong. They talk about the Swiss cheese model and how it's all the holes in the cheese lining up. And Johnny Matthews and particularly Josh Mackay having a stinker when lots of players were having a stinker, I think is just a case of the holes in the cheese lining up and the problem happening. I think we can be reassured that that's a very rare event for Josh Mackay in particular, and it's unlikely he's going to have 2 stinkers in a row. Spoiler.
Does anyone else have a feeling like this podcast is going to be the most popular with Swiss rugby fans in a long time, because we've already mentioned the algorithm is like, wow, they keep talking about Swiss. Are they talking about hot chocolate? Oh, rugby? Okay.
But they are algorithm. No, sorry, that's £2 in the.
No, yeah.
Wow, you were trying to squeeze that one right in there, didn't you? That was it.
I think Gruyère's a French cheese as well. I think we've just alienated the Swiss. So yeah, I'm up at £7, Jonny, if you're still counting.
I'm counting. You're damn right I'm counting.
Well, we are going to move on to the second part of the podcast, into the Patreon. We're going to talk about the European Cup and the 2 nights that the 2 games and the 2 nights or afternoons that our friends from Edinburgh and Glasgow had against the French and the Mancunian. So for us, we are going to make a move on. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you, David, again, how do people catch up with you on social media and also on the
on the hellscape of what I still call Twitter? I'm at of Scrum. I'm on Blue Sky, and also the Wall Street Journal is part of the sort of, it's kind of under the umbrella of the WRAP, WWRAP, and it's part of the Global Gainline Network on YouTube. We love comments, and over 1,200 subscribers already, so shocking.
Fantastic. So thank you to Allan McDonald, thank you to Jonny McGinty, and a massive thank you to our cousin from across the pond, David Lawrence. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I will move on to the Patreon. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye all.
Good evening.
Bye. To be fair, you said tonight about 3 times, Craig. I just didn't think highlighting it was a problem.
I tried to.
I just threw a good evening in there.
I tried to hide it and be.
You know what the worst thing about that is, David? It's not even fucking evening for you. You've just done that on purpose.
I did do that first. That's right. I'm an avid listener. Come on, I'm a fan.
So we'll start the Patreon pod off with a fuck, and have to say fucking evening again. And just as our friend Jonny McGinty has just said, David is joining us during the day, and still said good evening at the end of the stand-up pod, just to wind my ticket. So basically, Alan's the only one that hasn't been winding my ticket today. So
give it time.
Well, he's on the whiskey, so we'll wait and see what happens. So welcome to the Patreon side of the Scottish Rugby podcast. Again, I'm joined by Allan McDonald, Jonny McGinty, and a brother from another mother, David Lawrence.
Jamie Ritchie Gray.
Jamie Ritchie Gray. Oh, funnily enough, there's a programme on BBC called Richard Osman's House of Games, and he has a round called Answer Smash. And he gives you two questions, and the answer is the answer is the two answers kind of smashed together. So it's like
they owe me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Jamie Ritchie Gray or
Tom Jordan Crane. That's one.
Sorry.
There we go.
Tom Jordan Crane. That's one.
There you go. And Allan had just Damien, what was your one, Allan?
Damien Mackenzie Duncan.
There you go.
Yes.
And me, I'm not. I can't. Chris, I've had so much going on in my head. I have no chance of. I'm just
Tom Jordan Barrett.
I've written everything down here.
Oh yes, Tom Jordan is a rich vein for this one. I never said Tom Jordan Mailata, and then I realised that Jordan Mailata is actually not a rugby player. He's a football player.
Ooh, that's a red card, Jonny.
And not just that, he plays for the Eagles.
Just fucking ruined it. Absolutely just fucking ruined it.
You've taken that too far.
Yeah, let's just now tumble.
But you mentioned the Eagles. Are you all aware of the tush push controversy in the NFL?
Yeah,
Jonny, I'm sure.
It's so fucking stupid.
Is this the Ritchie Gray thing that he brought into? Yeah. Surely all of us in rugby land kind of looked at American football and kind of went, "Why aren't they doing that?"
Yeah. I could sack them all. That seems easy.
Yeah, just get the ball down to the score line and then just push it over. You're there, sort it out, no problem. Anyway,
it was great. It was great. Speaking of the NFL, it was great to see some highlights from a former Jacksonville Jaguar this weekend. He had a great game. There might be a future for him in rugby.
Here's an idea for his future. He could fuck off. Rugby Pass put him one place ahead of Bowden Barrett in their absolutely ridiculous, based on nothing, top 100 players in the world list. They've got Bowden Barrett at 77 and Reece Samet at 76. Which is about 55 places too low for Bowden Barrett and about 100 places too high for Reece Samet.
But surely rage bait is the reason that come up with this nonsense.
Yeah, it's based on absolutely nothing.
Oh, I've got rage bait already for Hands in the Ruck. Don't you worry about it.
I saw someone on Blue Sky today, it might have been James, saying, would Rhys Zammit start for any Tier 1 nation apart from Wales and Japan? And I was a bit like, probably not, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, he's start for the Eagles, but they're not Tier 1, I suppose. They're
not,
because we're fielding Rufus
nation.
McLean. We're fielding Rufus fucking McLean. So
yeah, I mean, it's not the whether he would start for you or not that's the issue here. It's the Tier 1 bit of the conversation.
Yes. yeah. Not even going to argue about that one.
I'm just waiting on the Eagles signing Israel Folau to bring him in as well.
Thankfully, he's too old. Otherwise, he'd be somebody. By the way, when we signed Rufus McLean, nobody said anything. Like in the NFL, they would have said, "Say what you will about Mr. McLean." They would have done the Ben Roethlisberger cover up. That would be like, "Say what you will about his ability to harass and be awful towards women, but he does know how to throw a ball." They didn't even bother to do that. They were like, "Oh, we signed this Scottish international. He's really good." That was it.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think it was ourselves, David, that were talking on the Scrum of the Earth, and it was like you were quite pleased with Scottish Rugby. He just turned around and went, "Nah, he's no playing at Murrayfield. Yeah. That ain't happening."
It was the only great move by the SRU in like 10 years I can point to and go, "Hey, they got it right."
Yeah, and the cold water for washing people's hands, that's a great move. That just keeps them out of the toilets quick enough. Get them out. Let me get in quicker.
Actually, unless your hands are greasy, there's no benefit to warm water over cold. It's only the warm water's only to take any grease or fat off your hands.
This is why people pay for Patreon.
I was going to say the pod just got interesting.
Just come on, hygiene. We've got sleep hygiene. We've got hand hygiene. Now we need to work out on what.
Is there a Swiss hygiene we can work in somehow?
Speaking of sleep hygiene, you've got 36 minutes.
Toblerone. No, but I've actually got the NHS hand hygiene poster with the commentary for Tony Stanger's try in 1990 underneath it, up in my office, which it used to be my office door, but now my office is in a much more public place, and I don't feel like I can have it outside the door, so I've got it inside the door. Actually,
the funny thing about it is that you know how I don't know if David has watched Trainspotting before, but and that bit about Trainspotting when Ewan McGregor's talking about Archie Gemmell's try, and it's Tony Stanger's try for me that works that way too. But anyway,
it's all right, Allan. We know it's called a goal, don't we?
That's fine. But inner pedant was just etching there.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just out of here. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's get on with this. Shall we do Glasgow or Edinburgh first?
Let's just go in chronological order and do Glasgow first.
All right, okay. Because you want to be able to get your sleep hygiene out of the way and not have to talk about Edinburgh winning for a little bit longer. Okay.
I was actually just round the corner when Edinburgh were winning. I was at Edinburgh Zoo.
Yeah.
Looking at the lanterns, and it was class.
Yeah. Sale 21, Glasgow 26. A depleted injury strew in Sale took on Glasgow. Okay, they didn't have George. They didn't have George Ford. They had a few players out there. They didn't have.
There was a couple missing. Yeah, there was a couple missing.
Yeah. Tyson Gregor Hiddleston, Rory Darge, Kyle Stain, and a try and 100th appearance for Stafford McDowell. I actually watched this game, which was quite amazing. It's a first for me, probably because it was on Friday night, was it not? If I'm right,
it was Friday night. I came in from becoming the Freaky Cricket Club 10-pin bowling champion of 2025, by the way, about 50 minutes in, and saw it from there.
Are we going to have to deal with this all night? It's just so that it's going to be, is it? It's just like...
It's not every day. It's not every day.
To mention it.
He doesn't like to talk about it.
He's a multi-sport guy. There's no getting around it.
I'm bad at multiple sports. That is true.
So fast start from Sale, but Glasgow looked a little bit at sea at the beginning, but they really reset and got back into the game and came away winners. Jonny, Glasgow in penalties again. They gave away a few penalties, and their discipline's starting to worry me again.
It's becoming a bit of an issue. There was obviously a little bit more control on Friday than there was at whatever the fuck that was against Scarlets. I think senior players coming back in made a difference, but but not enough of a difference because we are still pishing penalties. Not as problematic penalties possibly as we were against Scarlets, but we've still got to get that tightened up because it's, for example, on Saturday night, you don't want to be doing that against Toulouse.
Whoa, you really don't. David's horrible weather played havoc with the hands. Sale dropped. Sale regularly looked dangerous, but then dropped the ball or knocked it on or whatever. But horrible weather did play havoc with Sale's game. When you've got two running rugby teams, you want to see them playing running rugby.
Yeah.
But
the weather played havoc with a lot of the fixtures this weekend. By the way, one of my oldest and dumbest jokes is Sale's not actually a place; it's just an acronym for South African lad, eh? But what I liked most about this match this weekend was the chippiness. I felt like both teams just had a ton of attitude. Like it was on edge from the beginning. Craig, you and I were chatting recently about Sione in the captain's role for Scotland, and it was funny because with Kyle Stain, the captain this weekend, Sione looked more fired up to me. Like he looked. It reminds me of a friend of mine who's a great chef, and he was made. He worked his way up and eventually became head chef, and he was like, I hate this. I want to do everything but that level. He wants to be the chef who does all the stuff, but doesn't have to then sit there with the lists and order everything. And I think that might be Sione. To be fair, he doesn't turn 29 until just before Valentine's Day, so maybe he's the captain of the future. But, for the Warriors and for Scotland, I liked this. Turnaround question for you all, though. The guy I call the Scottish player, Macbeth, he got the start this weekend. He seemed to acquit himself pretty nicely, but I'd never hear anyone chat about him. What are our expectations for him right now?
Well, first expectation is me and Allan both had to put £1 in the Doddy pun jar for making that exact same joke. So you can PayPal us your £1. Allan's the expert on Nathan Macbeth. He gave me a ton of shit for not knowing whether he was a loose head or a tight head. And then, and you should never have admitted this, even privately, I'm telling everybody anyway, then a couple of weeks later, had to text me and say, I'll have to be honest, before I started giving you shit about that, I had to go and check which side he played. So,
to be fair, I was fairly sure he was a loose head. I just wanted to absolutely make sure of my ground before I started in on you, because I knew you'd turn it round on me if I was wrong.
I don't know. I just think he maybe doesn't see as much of the field as he maybe should. Because I think he always seems quite inconsistent when I see him, and inconsistency is a massive problem for Scottish front rows. I think what makes Xander so good is that he doesn't have that issue. So we're kind of hoping Ollie Blythe-Lafferty, like we said earlier, doesn't have that issue either. But Macbeth can have some storming games, and then he can have some absolute howlers. And talking about Glasgow's penalties, he is a bit of a penalty machine at times.
Allan,
how old is he? How old is Macbeth? I was just about to look him up, but I figured you guys would know.
I think he's...
You figure wrong.
Yeah, but
I would have said like mid to late 20s.
Has he not come over from South Africa though, right?
I don't think he's late 20s. I think he was...
He's 27.
Okay, mid to late 20s, Jonny. You definitely win that one.
I know my Nathan Macbeth, mate. Know everything there is to know about him.
Just not what side of the scrum.
Did he not? He came across from South Africa though, right? And everyone went, "Holy crap! Look at the size of this guy coming across."
Yeah, because he was a big old unit when he came over.
He's going to be fantastic for Glasgow, and then he disappeared for like a season and a half, and he's never really got regular game time. So I think when I think you're right, Jonny. I don't think he sees all the game, but I don't think he's had the chance to see all the game with Glasgow.
And I think if he was as good as his potential suggested when he came over, Glasgow wouldn't have been extending Rory Sutherland.
Yeah.
Like,
fair.
Glasgow have continued to sign loose heads since Macbeth came over, which is not exactly a massive vote of confidence.
Yeah, and Allan, what's your thoughts?
I think he's been inconsistent, and he's not had a chance to, and I'm sorry for the cliche, make the jersey his. And Glasgow keep going back to Jamie Batty fairly often, despite the difficulties that Jamie Batty has, and that I think speaks volumes as to Macbeth not being fully trusted.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, well, for me, I think that's the problem, though. Where Glasgow are weaker, their forwards are their front row. And it's worrying for me because, it seems to be that Glasgow, that Scotland look at Edinburgh for their front row and Glasgow for their back row, and the rest of the fun backs along with some of the English Premiership clubs in France. So, but I think it's difficult. We're going through this dearth of good forward players, front row players in Scotland. But surely we're going to have a loose head prop come along at Glasgow that's going to make everyone stand back and go, wow, this is a guy. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nathan Macbeth is still relatively young in prop years. He's kind of coming into his prop prime, isn't he? Kind of 28 onwards. Maybe he just sort of picks up and starts playing better and becomes a player he looks like he might have been. It's certainly Xander's unusual in that he was playing well from a young age, but maybe he'll come into it and have a wee bit of an Indian summer to his career. But we are seeing more players come through. We were commenting a while back that second row's a lot better suddenly in terms of options than it's been. So maybe it's just that if we wait, we will get sort of props coming through. They will tend to mature a bit later than the other players anyway. Xander and hopefully Ollie accepted.
Some props haven't matured.
I was going to say we're still waiting for Craig.
Yeah. Giggling like a schoolgirl.
Given the fart jokes we make in the podcast chat, I think that's probably true.
Yeah. David, Glasgow's defence looks good. If they're not giving penalties away, but they soaked a lot of pressure from Sale.
Yeah, and this was what led me to my not so hot take earlier, where I think Glasgow just aren't quite clicking. Like, they're still where they want to be on the table in the URC. They obviously had to win here. Really funny stat from the weekend. I think it's seven away teams won out of the 12 matches this weekend in the Champions Cup. Very strange, and Glasgow obviously were one of them. It doesn't say Printerland anymore in the stadium at Sale. I used to always love that. I was always, what are the laws in Printerland? What is their judicial system? Is it similar to our own? But
nothing works if you're looking at it. That's one of the fundamental laws of Printerland.
Yeah, but I thought they looked good. It was a good win. It's exactly the way they want to start. But again, this is early and just my emotional read. I don't think Glasgow are where they think they are right now.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. The first equal in Pool 1, although they're third on points difference. But again, they've won against Sale. They won against Sale last year, and so we will wait and see how they get along. But they have a rather tough fixture. The good thing about it is it's at home, but they have a fixture I would love to go along to watch. I just think it's really exciting.
Side note, are any of you going to any of these matches?
No, we thought about this one, but it's just too awkward with it being the last.
Is it significantly more expensive than seeing a URC match?
For Glasgow, not much. I spoke to someone last week, and you'll work out exactly who it is as soon as I start telling you that some of their friends went away to watch Munster play Bath and paid £220 a ticket to go to the Rec and watch that Champions Cup game. And then Munster got fucking battered.
I tell you, there's nothing sweeter than watching a Munster front row with their legs dangling in the air. I giggled like a schoolboy on that one. That was just brilliant. Actually, nothing. And watching Munster fans that have paid £200 a ticket watch that happen, that is just fabulous.
Edinburgh, actually, credit where it's due, were doing their family pack tickets for the Toulon game on Sunday afternoon, because as we were driving to Edinburgh on Sunday, we had a 5 o'clock ticket for the lantern show at the zoo, and as we were driving through the sideways rain, we were trying to because it was our eldest's 9th birthday, and it was his birthday present was going to the lanterns. And as we were driving through and trying to work out what we would do if it got cancelled as we were driving through because the weather was so terrible, I looked to see if we could go and watch Edinburgh instead. And they were doing a family ticket, 2 adults and 2 kids for £50 to watch Champions Cup, which is brilliant.
That's great.
So,
that's great.
And to go and watch, and we'll talk about this in a second, but to go and watch a fairly strong Toulon side play as well, which is fabulous. But yeah, so Glasgow got Toulouse at home this weekend coming up. A really delicious fixture. That's what the European Cup's all about. I love it.
I'm buzzing. I can't wait.
Yeah, a delicious. And
Toulon have Glasgow's number.
Oh,
Big time.
Well, David, we're not doing this again because we did it when me and Craig came on with you. You got Toulon and Toulouse mixed up every single time we said it. We're not doing it again.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I mean, it's Toulouse-Lautrec, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
The puns have started. Toulouse, I thoroughly expect Toulouse to slap Glasgow about, but on the other side of things, Glasgow have a great home record. They have phenomenal fans. They're playing on a plastic pitch, which they're already moaning about DuPont, and they're saying that DuPont might only play a small amount of time because they don't want him to wreck his knee again on this terrible plastic pitch, etc., etc. So we'll wait and see. But I think Blair Kinghorn's coming home to play in Scotland in front of a different crowd, a rather more baying for his blood crowd than anything else. I think it's going to be delicious. I really, if there's one game I would have, well, apart from would have liked to have seen Munster's forwards getting pumped around the place at Bath live, but I think I would really quite like to have been along at Scotstoun. But David, we're trying to get to games, but unfortunately my darling wife was singing on Sunday night in a Christmas concert, so I had to go and see that. And I don't mean that.
What 1872s you go to, Craig?
I have nothing planned yet, so I need to work it out. So
we're going to go to Hampden, I think. We've got the club overs unders game on the 27th, so I'm playing in that rather than going to the Murrayfield one. But I think we'll go to the Hampden one.
The only time I go to Hampden is to listen to AC/DC or Metallica, so that's about it. So we'll wait and see. So anyway,
it's often the case at the Noxious Gas field that it seems like the soundtrack is just trying to get John Anderson to come back.
Well, John Anderson, if he stays there 3 times,
surely you'll come for AC/DC. Okay, you didn't come for AC/DC. Surely you'll come for Metallica. We're just desperate to have him.
Yeah, and of course, unfortunately for me, getting down to any games, I'm a 3.5 hour drive to get down and the same back. So any evening games in particular either mean that I'm funding an overnight or...
Well, the train has to stop a couple of times to take on water and coal, yeah.
The train's expensive.
Yeah.
I tend to either drive or get the bus because the kids are free in the bus.
Nice. So, Edinburgh 33, Toulon 20. Tries from Pierre Schumann, Ben Velica.
Toulouse were really good in this game.
Can't even get through my spiel that I've written down here.
I had to send Jonny a message. I'm so mad that I effed that up again. I absolutely knew that, and I fucked it up. Anyway.
And honestly, it was so funny the last time because we were on your pod, and so we didn't feel like we could say anything. But every time you mentioned one of them, Craig and I would go, "Yes, Toulouse have got some really good players in it," and it was every single time.
So try some Pierre Schumann, Ben Velica, Bowen Venter, a penalty try, which we can pretty much put down to Bowen Venter as well, and Liam McConnell was player of the match. Allan, it's this whole what do we do about Maria thing with Edinburgh. What the fuck are we doing with Edinburgh here? They come out and put a performance. Now, okay, they have the last 3 times they've played Toulon in the Diddy Cup and also in the main cup, they've beaten them. Toulon, obviously, I don't know whether they don't travel well or whatever, but it was a fairly hefty Toulon squad that came up to Edinburgh.
It certainly looked like they were trying.
Yeah, it certainly did. And what what a performance from Edinburgh. I've not seen that for some time from Edinburgh.
There was a particular moment near the end where Toulon kicked for the corner from a penalty, and they went up. They were going at the line out, and you thought, well, they'll get a score, but it won't matter because there's not enough time. But Edinburgh fought that line out and actually got them. Toulon knocked it on. Dave Ribbons back in the field knocked it on, and there was just something about that from Edinburgh whereby they were like, no, well, you could score, but we're not going to let you. That made me kind of sit up and think, okay, actually, this is more mentally tough and much more dog in the fight, or fighting the dog, whichever way around it should be, than we're used to seeing from Edinburgh. And it made me quite happy, actually. It made me pleased to see them doing well and doing better than we've feared. We'll see what happens against Castres, but yeah, I thought it was a performance.
Can we speak about this very quickly, actually, speaking of the Toulon squad? Has something happened, and do French teams now care about away games in Europe? Because that was pretty much a full-bore Toulon squad on Sunday. And Bordeaux-Bègles were playing not just away, but in South Africa on Saturday, and took pretty much their first-choice squad. And up until about 2 years ago, you were guaranteed the absolute shags if you got a French team at home in Europe. Like, they didn't bother sending any frontline players to any away games. But it seems like there are full-strength French squads going all over the place for these games. Do they care about it now, or what's the story? Have they just got so many good players that they can send enough everywhere?
That stat that the away teams went 7-5 this weekend, I think, might point to that very thing. That does seem very strange. And like you can count on one hand the teams that sent their full squad, including Leinster. Seems kind of weird. They did that against, half-ass Harlequins. But anyway, this is why I love Europe, though. Everyone in the world is out on Europe, but because it's so different to any American competition that I can compare it to, I just love it. We'll get to it in the hands of the ruck, but because Flow Rugby absolutely screwed the pooch on the coverage this weekend, so I wasn't able to actually watch one of my favorite calendar weekends in all of rugby every year, and I'm so mad about it still.
Yeah, I for me it's and we've just talked about it with Toulon playing Glasgow, no Toulouse playing Glasgow. They are, these are the things I love watching these games. I love all, Edinburgh in the same in the same pool as Bath, and to get now whether Bath send their full squad or not, or whether I don't know, were we playing them away? I don't know. Anyway, that's that whole. It's that playing these different teams, playing Toulon. How are we going to, Toulon at a windy, wet Edinburgh? When do you get that? At the Hive, and at the Hive, you're so close to the game. And the same, it's just, it's not like Scotland where you've got 600 yards to look over to see where the game's playing. Jonny is showing his displeasure if anyone's watching.
That was a Patreon only gesture.
Yeah, Patreon only gesture. But yeah,
I heard about the bird.
yeah. Well, but I was getting the bird there but I just like to mention the running track because I keep getting mentioned about the fucking stanchions on the. Or the polls on the on Edinburgh's one, but you can tell
it. Hold your gazebo up with something.
Sorry?
I remember when.
Hold your gazebo up with something.
Yeah, the thing is, you look at Scotland. Most of they've got the same company building the stands at Scotland as well. The extra stands are the same stanchions. Anyway, that's different. Sorry. I'm getting.
Yeah, but it doesn't look as much like it came from a garden centre, though.
Yeah, well, at least this would be a Wales team. Anyway, Dave Ribbons. We've got quite a young team coming through for Edinburgh, and it seems to be bringing these really, really strong players coming through that seem to want to prove a point. Even to the point of Dave Ribbons struck Liam McConnell in the face.
Yeah,
and got a yellow card for it.
That was my very next question. What did they do to rile up the captain? Dave Ribbons doesn't do that. That was really weird. and that might have made the difference. It reminded me of the Hawas punch, where it's like this one moment when somebody blows their top changes the complexion and the result of this game. Getting Dave Ribbons off of that field was like, oh, okay. And the look on his face as he was leaving was like, oh, geez, like what happened to get him that riled up? I've never seen that happen.
I don't know, but
think Liam McConnell might be a shite bag. That's and Scotland need much more of that. So I kind of hope that he is.
Yeah,
I know it was really effective.
Yeah, well, I was once told by a referee that if he saw me getting punched again, he was going to send me off because he was like, "I've not seen you doing it, but you're doing something, so stop it." Which and people always ask, "Was it fair?" And of course, it was fair. So I think Johnny's absolutely right. McConnell had done something, said something, or just put a wee elbow into a hard bit of his body into a soft bit of Ribbon's body at an opportune time away from the cameras. And
you definitely couldn't see it.
Yeah, no, it was absolute genius. I actually wondered if it might have been a 20-minute red for that.
I thought it should be a red for striking the face. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was kind of a punch to the face. It was pretty obvious.
I actually thought. In fact, my words were to my wife was, "That's a straight red. That's a straight red." But
yeah.
It did not prove.
And Ribbons is a player who terrifies me. So seeing him leave was like, oh, aha, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it was Matt Carley refereeing. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was actually quite good.
So
he'd been abducted by aliens and replaced with a dog.
Imperious is how I would describe the officiating.
Yeah. Jonny, Cammy Scott, the real deal? ?
I'm becoming more convinced that he might be.
Yeah.
I'm still not fully sold, but I've got less reasons to argue against it every time I watch him.
That's pretty fulsome praise from Jonny, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's why I asked him, because I wanted to see what his reaction was. But considering we're looking at a young player who, let's not make him a Hastings, because you worry about Adam Hastings, that he was going to be the next best thing to Finn, and now he's doing okay, and I think he played okay for Glasgow at the weekend, but he has. Injury has plagued him, and he's obviously gone down in the Scottish structure. But you've got to say that Cammy Scott's got a chance of being in the squad for the Six Nations with some of the performances he's putting together. He seems to be playing in the way that Scotland would like him to play.
Yeah, and I know Allan and I differ in opinion on this, but I was at the Tonga game, and as I get more convinced by Cammy Scott, I get less convinced by Fergus Burke. So,
yes.
If
I just think it's unfair. It's his second start, third cap, first time at Murrayfield. I don't think Fergus Burke was wonderful against Tonga. It's not like I'm saying he was excellent, but I suppose what I'm saying is I think it's a wee bit early to be saying that.
Okay,
I like Fergus Burke.
Yeah, the thing is though, and I guess, David, we have to talk about it, I suppose, is the fact that how do we put any player up against, for me, the number 110 in the world at this moment in time? How can we turn around and say, look, how,
well, you and your love of Owen Farrell is well known, so. I think the way to deal with a player like Owen Farrell is to duck at the right time, just as the arm kind of.
Yeah, he seems to like he's washing poles.
I think for me, and it's not about comparing them to Finn. I think if you're talking about two really young players, I think Cammy Scott's got a better handle on what he does well than Fergus does. Like Fergus Burke, when he played that Tonga game, repeatedly took the ball into contact or took the ball to the line and wasn't getting any success from it at all and just kept doing it. Whereas I think Cammy Scott seems to have a better idea of what his skill set is and how to use it properly. I think Fergus Burke was trying to force himself to do things that maybe are not in his wheelhouse. And I've seen less of that from Cammy Scott.
Well, since we've sort of obliquely brought up Finn, it's weird. I don't watch the Prem the way I watch the URC. I just don't find it as compelling. I find the comms really annoying. So I want to watch Finn, but I'm reluctant to watch the Prem every week. That makes me think that the URC teams are better than them, I think. So Munster versus Bath, that was I was surprised. I think having Finn out there for 80 minutes, that's just always like a magic cheat code. And the man I call the Prince Henry of Arundel, he had a really good game, and another, but by the way, Beno Obano, he stood out for me. I love Beno Obano.
Yeah, and that's the thing, David, though, is you're looking at a miniature Springbok style team in Bath. You turn round and you walk into the Bath Rugby Club, you turn round and you walk into a Springbok, you turn round, you walk into a Scotland International, you turn round, you walk into an English I said asshole there, it must be a Freudian slip. But
two things can be true.
This seems to be Bath have a squad this year, and it will change at the end of this year. If they don't win European Cup title this year, they have a bit of a change coming on because Du Toit is leaving. But to have the best tight head in the world on your bench, to come off the bench to then destroy you, and your second, your Will Stewarts and people like that. You've got Dunn, who is in a hooker that has seen the lowest depths of almost being relegated, and is now playing like he's from the manor born at hooker, and bleeds everywhere. Every game he bleeds. Just bleeding profusely. He must have to take iron tablets.
I want there to be a list of the people who are already bleeding when they're doing the anthems, when they line up just to sing, and like 3 or 4 guys have blood. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, is it just bursting?
Is it haemophilia? Is it haemophilia playing rugby? Because that's a risk.
But look at their back line, and you take off Henry Arundel, you bring on Will Muir. You take off Ollie Lawrence, and you bring on what's the young lad called that scored a try that Finn chucked him in the final. I
know the guy you mean.
Pippi Longstaff.
Yeah, great player. Anyway, they have some
depth.
Their depth is phenomenal, and even their third choice is probably an England cap player. So you just have these players there that are just phenomenal. So what I say, and I have to say this, I enjoy the Premiership quite a lot. I've got BT, so I've got TNT Sports. So if you can get past the punditry bit at the beginning and all that, and what's his name?
Christ Almighty, Andy Good. How is it that I have to listen to him in Europe? I've been asking people like
before we start talking about that, because that's on my list.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, let's quickly skip back to Edinburgh first. We'll finish this off and then we'll move on to Hands in the Ruck. 3 things I wanted to ask questions of. We've already asked about, can Edinburgh keep playing like this with Allan? Allan, you and Ashman back into a wonderful patch of play, and he really seems to have come out of the Autumn Nations and realising that actually he was quite good.
Northern Hemisphere team of the season in the Autumn Nations.
Yeah. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. We were never worried about his work in the loose, but it was the line out throwing, and there was comments in our chat, in the summer, please take Ashman off. He's just got the yips. It's unkind to keep him on. And I don't know what he's done, but if he can bottle what he's done, they could probably sell it to pro golfers that are struggling with the yips, because that has been quite something, that transformation.
Jonny, will Edinburgh keep Bowen Venter?
I don't know. He seems like a candidate to be going back to one of the South African URC teams. I think now that he's fairly regular in the Springboks, and the worst people in the world South African rugby fans on social media have already started talking about how Dan Human got his hands on him and now he's amazing because that's what 6 weeks of Springboks camp will do for you. And once we get him back in South Africa, he's going to be world class. And it's like, fuck off. Bowenventer's always been amazing.
Oh, he
doesn't
get chosen for the Springboks squad.
Yeah.
By sheer.
In this case, you got very lucky that you managed to convince him before he became Scots qualified, because that was always the plan.
Yeah,
and I genuinely believe that when Razzie first called him in the summer, that he did it as like a sort of like, fuck you, we don't even need this guy, but we're going to take him away from you for no reason. And they've been surprised by how good he was. And now I think he probably goes back to South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think there's a disincentive for Edinburgh keeping him as well, isn't there? It's one thing if you think he might become SQ. He's now, they're now looking to get an SQ player in.
That leads. Also, we're talking about if he gets offered a lot of money. Scotland and Edinburgh would have to pony up a fair bit of bounce for him. But this then takes me on to this question for you, David. What do we do about a person called Duhan? Duhan van der Merwe in an Edinburgh shirt underperforms so regularly.
It's like you reached into my script and hacked my account. Like, unbelievable. Because my question for you was going to be, is Duhan gone? I don't have any, online, proof of this. I just feel like he feels hard done by the SRU. I feel like he's going to look for less rainy pastures to go to. I don't blame him. And yeah, he's underperformed. Again, is that the coach? Is that the system at Edinburgh? Although the results are pretty similar with Scotland, he's kind of a give me the ball, and if there's a couple of people in front of me and I have a straight line, I'm going to knock both of them down. But I'm not as elusive as a Darcy or somebody like that. I love Duhan. I'm still grateful that my partner described him as a jarhead, so I don't have to worry about her, leaving the country to go try to marry him. But I think he's gone. I think Edinburgh have moved on, even if they don't know it, without him. And I think he's moved on mentally. And all these things are just internal feelings I have that are not scientific. But I think Duhan's out of there. And I don't know if it's going to hurt Edinburgh that much. I don't think he's going to go back to South Africa. I think he's going to end up in France. That's my guess.
Well, Allan, you probably remember this. He's not got a lot of good. He's not done a lot of good things, and he doesn't have a lot of good memories of France. And that's the concern, because he was injured and on the rubbish pile or garbage pile.
Maybe he's just waiting for Worcester to come back.
Well, maybe he is, because Worcester are coming back. But I think.
They missed the deadline for applying to rejoin the Prem. So they won't be next season.
Right. I would certainly. I think it's at a point now for Edinburgh where I think he needs to go and get his money paid by someone else. For example, a Red Bull owned team, and because it's
then he can keep working with Gregor.
Because he can keep working with Gregor, and he can also just travel an hour and a bit up the road from his home, and he can keep his home in Edinburgh if he wants to. I think he's at a point now where Edinburgh could do with the cash to develop two wingers. They look at Harry Patterson now. Okay, Harry Patterson, I'd probably keep him at the fullback, but you've got Harry Patterson there. You've got I've forgotten his name now. The lad that plays for Edinburgh that's on the wing, the young lad.
Wells.
Yeah, you've got some fantastic players coming through with Edinburgh that we could do with investing in. You've got Ollie Blythe-Lafferty needing decent money for his professional contract. So it's one of those things where I think Duhan needs to be taken out of his comfort zone now and pushed on.
The ROI hasn't been there for Edinburgh for Duhan. So I think it's a handshake, a thank you, and best wishes in your future endeavours.
Yeah, as I say, money.
He's 30 as well. This is probably his last chance of a big contract. I don't think it'll be terribly acrimonious between Duhan or Edinburgh. I think it'll be as I say. Aye.
Well, he's already left. He's already left Edinburgh for more money. So he has already done it. And also the guy, we have to be careful on this one because he's not on the garbage pile. He's still Scotland's all-time top try scorer. So we have to have a bit of respect for the guy.
I think the difficulty is that other people are doing more than him. That's the difficulty.
Yeah,
I don't think. I mean, he's not finished for Scotland because apart from anything else, he's still in the top 3 wingers. So maybe top 4 because just before Jonny started shouting Kyle Rowe at me, and I think that would be fair.
No, listen, I love Kyle Rowe, but even I'm not putting him on the same level as the other 3.
Yeah,
I just think Duhan's defence, unfortunately for Scotland, or the ball coming behind him isn't. He's like a. Was it they say dogs can't look up? He's like that sort of thing. He can't look behind him. If a ball goes behind him, he shits the bed every time. But
he is sadly probably 3rd in the top 3, and quite.
He's not got a good enough kicking game to be able to exit.
Yeah,
so teams are confident that he will try and run it back. And therefore they can rush up on them because they're like, well, Duhan's not going to kick it.
That's a great show.
I would like to be the player rushing on him, though, just to be clear.
Sorry?
It's a solid tactic, but I wouldn't want to be the one doing it.
No, I would think he was your man, Jonny. Rather than mine.
You just have to be a stick in the spokes with Duhan. Really, you just throw yourself at his legs and see if he trips over you. Really.
So I apologize for stealing this moment right now, but it just occurs to me, and I have to ask. We've talked about it before in this show. There was that time a few years ago when there was the famous comment about, there aren't enough Scottish accents in the Scottish locker room and blah, blah, blah. But something I've noticed is when Scotland does get players from other countries, they're okay. But South Africa isn't saying, damn, I wish they hadn't taken Duhan from us. There's the other countries where these players originated aren't saying, damn, I can't believe Scotland got that guy. Meanwhile, in Ireland, Australia's like, what do you mean you have Mac Hansen now? Damn it. All these other countries have players that other countries are like, damn it. Faye Waboso, I think, is the biggest mistake for Wales that they let him end up in England. He's going to be immense. And it's just weird that Scotland seems cursed with we've got these international players and we get criticized for it. Yet somehow those countries wouldn't have those people back.
Yeah, Duhan's too fast for Ireland on the wing. They like their slow wingers.
Clearly.
They like this.
They also like the wingers to be able to pass, Craig's, to be fair.
We do a better job of taking good players from good countries that already have a lot of good players. Duhan not getting into the Springboks squad as a winger is because the Springboks have got so many good wingers. The reason Australia are keener to get Mac Hansen back than South Africa are to get Duhan back is that Australia, at the time that Mac Hansen qualified for Ireland, were a not very good team with not any good wingers, and
That's
so
fair.
it probably did feel like a loss for them. Whereas
I think
it doesn't feel like as much of a loss for South Africa.
Yeah, but I think Schoeman is an example of a player that South Africa probably do feel the loss of. And I wonder if that's partly behind the capping of Bowen Venter before he became SQ.
So.
Yeah.
No.
I think also you've got to remember is that Scotland are a lot shitter than South Africa. And so, those players with a modicum of talent can, a massive fucking piece of beef running at 25 mile an hour at you, is a difficult thing to stop. And Scotland went through that period of time. I remember because I was coaching youth at that time, they were putting so much pressure on under 16s and under 18 players to bulk up. And they would take players that maybe didn't have the right hands or didn't have the right tackle on them because they were big, or didn't have much nous on them because they were big. And then they would smash them to pieces. And then, you've got an 18-year-old kid that's got, that's already had knee surgery and already had shoulder surgery and stuff like that. And that's So that's kind of, that's where Duhan and especially Pierre Schumann. I remember Pierre Schumann played against. I remember being there. I was at the first game he played. It was a friendly against Bath, and he came on the field, and we all just went, "What the fuck is that?" And he was massive. He was compared to other props. Now, obviously, other props have gone that way. Bino Urbano, if you just need to look at his thighs and you go, "Holy crap!" All these props are now starting to come through that are big pieces of meat, and I think, that's where Duhan and Duhan has, if you have a small chink of armor in your defense, Duhan will run over it and run through you, and and so he'll make a mockery of that. But when he doesn't play well is when he comes up against a defense that has his number.
I guess what long way around, it seems silly to me that Scotland gets so much stick for international players when other nations are all playing by the same rules and they seem to be getting more out of it.
Yeah, well, they're having a go. They kept having a go about Duhan being on the Lions squad. All these players Willie John McBride, having a go of all these players that are not really from the British now. And everybody's dancing about saying that what's his name? Sounds like a good drink. The scrum half for Ireland.
Jameson Gibson Park,
a nice whiskey.
Whiskey.
Famous Gibson Park.
The famous Gibson Park. He's there's a player that's I don't know does he qualify through father or something like that, but I
don't know how it happened, but he's Kiwi through and through.
Yeah, and you just look at these things and you think to yourself, well, come on, you need to just shut up, move on.
He's a residency qualification, by the way.
He's a residency, yeah.
I used to, when people were saying that, English fans were saying that about the Spring Jocks or whatever, I was a bit like, and remind me, are they the Shropshire Vunipolas or the Surrey Vunipolas? It's that. And look, I don't have a problem with people coming and qualifying in residency. People, it's a global world, and we move around. But I'm jiggered if I'm going to take stick about Scotland doing it when other teams are doing it too.
Yeah, exactly. I apologize for that sidebar.
No problem. We will move on to this right now, where I think I've just lost it. No, I've got it, Johnny. I'm here. Hands in the rock, who has got the hands in the rock? Hands in the rock, hands in the rock, who has got the hands in the rock? So we'll have a little bit of a shorter patented hands in the rock. Just thought I'd see that just to fucking wind up.
It's good to get a patent this evening.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to go through this a wee bit quicker because Jonny needs to deal with his sleep hygiene, and I don't want to be part of Johnny's fresh divorce. So, we may as well start with our guest.
Yeah.
Johnny, no, David, what is your hands in the ruck today?
It's pretty obvious. My hands in the ruck this week is flow rugby. I call them blow rugby. So this weekend I had to work on Saturday. This weekend is one of my favorite weekends on the rugby calendar. The Sevens are back, and Europe, as I've said, I'm in love with the European competitions. I watch every Champions Cup. I watch every Challenge Cup. I know nobody else in the world watches the Challenge Cup except me. I don't care. I love it. I want to see what happens when Glasgow plays Sale.
I watch the Challenge Cup because Edinburgh have been in it regularly.
Yeah, because Edinburgh is in it.
But I watch it anyway because I'm like, oh, when's the last time these two teams have played? Never. And it's the competition itself is an impossibility in America. It's not like in the NFL after week 8, they're like, okay, now we're going to go off and play against the CFL. And if there was a Mexican football league and we're all going to combine, that would be great. And I would watch that, but there's no such thing. So I love your blow rugby this weekend. If it was a live broadcast, you could click on it and watch it. As soon as the match ended, no replay. It's over. the match is unavailable. You click on it, it says replay, and you click on it, it says, oh, would you like this 5-minute highlight package? No, I would not like that 5-minute highlight package. I missed every fucking game this weekend. I'm so fucking mad. I almost broke up with rugby this weekend. Like, I emailed them, I complained online, I did everything I could, and they were eventually like, hey, would you like to, rate our response to your complaint? And I was like, yeah, when you do something, I will be happy to respond. Tuesday lunchtime, those games started to appear for replays. And I was so mad by then that I was like, fuck it, I'm not watching this. I don't want to fucking watch Munster versus Bath on a Tuesday when I inevitably know what happened. Yeah, I did. I
still
did.
Fun though.
I did watch it anyway. But like the combination of the sevens aren't available because as soon as the day is over, it's unavailable. It just says event ended, and then below rugby doing this. I've never been so angry at rugby in my entire life, and it made me feel like, you know what? Living in America, the world has been telling me, you're not supposed to like rugby. You're not supposed to watch this game. You're not supposed to follow this. You're not supposed to care. And I felt like, you know what? Maybe the world is right. Maybe the universe is right. And I, even leading up to this, I was very excited to chat. I had to force myself to go and look at the results on the EPCR website and stuff and be like, okay, what actually happened? Because I didn't fucking know because they didn't fucking show it to me. I'm so mad. And for somebody who consumes an absurd amount of rugby, this was almost the end for me. So I'm fucking pissed.
I have to say that I understand you are pissed off about it. They have done a lot because that's the most fuckings I've heard out of you.
Yeah, yeah, that much. I sat there and be like, wow, he must be really angry.
I'm fucking mad.
Those that have never met David or listened to David. First things first, why are you not listening to the Scrum of the Earth?
Have you forgotten Wall Street Journal, which is the only good one I've heard in about 6 months?
But what you need to understand is that David is the nicest guy one of the nicest guys I've met, and to have him say fucking about 15 times just in one segment,
I've got more in
something wrong.
I'm fucking pissed. Blow Rugby has they've fucked the pooch so many times, and this weekend was the one. This is better than Six Nations. This weekend that passed is better than the beginning of Six Nations for me. It's the beginning of the opening round for a World Cup for me. This is the weekend I look forward to, and they fucked it, and I'm so mad.
I was similar to that. I have to join in on this one because I have to let's just say I watch Premier Sports a different way to a lot of people who watch Premier Sports. I'm not going to go into that fully. A lot of people will understand how I watch Premier Sports. And so Premier Sports 1, I tune in to try and get a really good European Cup match on Premier Sports 1. And it's a fucking Challenge Cup game with fucking Connaught. And so because
the Cheetahs versus...
Yeah, they're now owned by an Irish company, Premier Sports. So the Premier Sports 1 and all the coverage is on these all the Irish teams. So you then have to go hunting around, and then you're into Premier Sports 2, which my device that I use usually lags quite a bit, and is really, you get to the really good bit when someone's about to score a try, and then it starts to buffer. So let's just say my TV was almost ripped off the wall as well. So it's just that it's like, okay, fair enough. The way I'm watching that has probably got a lot to do with it. And I have only myself to blame for that. But I just feel it's like, for fuck's sake, it must be easier to watch rugby.
Like whether you watch it in an illicit fashion or not, there's editorial questions.
I never said that, Johnny. I'm saying
to be clear,
I've said nothing, Johnny.
We're behind the paywall now. It's fine.
Okay.
When your main broadcast is Connaught against Ospreys in the Challenge Cup, instead of Toulouse against the Sharks, who's signed that off?
Yeah, but the Irish. Actually, probably World Rugby who are upstairs.
Yeah. Someone run upstairs and check with the EPCR if this is
World Rugby, referees, Irish Rugby, Premier Sports.
Guys.
Anyway.
Shall we carry on the coverage theme for mine as well then?
Okay, Jonny, crack on. Your hands in the
and we mentioned this, I sort of alluded to it when David brought it up earlier. No Andy Good is too much Andy Good. And Andy Good on every game is far too fucking much Andy Good. Like, he has nothing sensible to say. He never makes a worthwhile interjection. All his jokes are fucking pish. He's a big fat Brexit wanker.
But he uses that. He uses his. I'm gonna call myself fat on the broadcast as his like. Oh, that makes me fine. Like,
fat Brexit wanker is my porn name.
But, I mean, even taking the politics out of it, he's just shit. Everything is bad. Fucking tiresome.
Do you know what? You can
pints and
you can actually hear how fed up John Barclay is of him by about halfway through the first half of the first game of the weekend. Because Bart says some quite sensible things. He says some sensible things, and then Good will be like, ha 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 ha, yeah, like that time that we were all chopping pints with our dicks out. And Barclay's just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, sure. And like, the thing is that the Premier Sports lineup's pretty good. They've got Ben Kaiser, who is one of my all-time favourite pundits. They've got John Barclay, who's really good. They've got Ryan Wilson, who I know, Craig, you don't agree, but Ryan Wilson is a really good broadcaster, and his post-match interviews are always great, and he always brings some like interesting. He does get a bit dick jokey, but he always brings some interesting insights, and especially when it's Glasgow games, he knows so much about the culture and the squad makeup and stuff that he's actually really interesting to listen to. Benjamin Kaiser is amazing. John Barclay's really good. A lot of their pundits are really good, and then Andy Good is like so fucking visibly worse than everyone, and he's like a fucking rash now on the Premier Sports coverage. He's everywhere, and he's really fucking annoying, like a rash. He's just the worst.
To be fair, and this might not go over well on this podcast, John Barclay maybe a little over the top. So here's my if it's the guy I'm thinking of, because they never on the broadcast I see, they never announce who the comms are. I have to deduce it by listening and watching. But he tends to, if it's the guy I'm thinking of, he tends to, it's 5 minutes into the game. One team has kicked a penalty, and it's, and they have ripped out the soul of the Sale Sharks. They have eviscerated their guts.
That's Jamie Lyle, I think you're thinking of.
Okay, thank you.
Who I also love.
I like Jamie Lyle.
He's very floral, Jamie Lyle.
His prose tends to the purple. I think it's fair to say.
Jamie Lyle, he's the one that's and they pass it to Tuapalop. He likes.
He pronounces things correct.
I'm sorry.
He used to have somebody from the Pacific Islands who helped him with his pronunciation. He went and sought somebody out to help him because he is he makes a big deal about the fact that he can pronounce all the names properly.
Yeah,
he pronounced Sam's name properly, unlike me and you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think Andy Good just should be in the sea. I just find that it just gets to a point where he's just to fuck off. I also, when you talk about John Barclay, watching John Barclay and Greg Laidlaw dance around everyone's questions about whether Townsend should get the boot or not was quite painful to watch because they want to toe the Scotland rugby line because they obviously have. Greg Laidlaw's probably going to get a job with Scottish Rugby, and John Barclay's obviously got his gigs with doing the what's his name, the hospitality in Murrayfield. So he doesn't want to, do basically an us and fuck the SRU off so much that we're now on a blacklist. And I keep. Whenever I go past the Murrayfield in the tram, I have to look behind me. But thanks, Jonny. Appreciate it. And Cammy as well. Thanks, Cammy. But yeah, it just. I like John Barclay. I think John Barclay's kind of calls a spoon, and that's it. And he's not. He tries to keep the pish down. He tries to sort the pish out from a lot of the people and he will hold a lot of the English commentators. Especially on Finn Russell and things like that, he will hold them to task. So it's interesting. But yeah, Jamie Lyle's let's just say Jamie Lyle is a specific taste. And sometimes you think he's doing really, really well, and other times you just think to yourself, "Oh, settle down a wee touch, pals."
Yeah.
You just need to nudge the dial down a wee bit, and Jamie occasionally. Jamie, turn it down to 7, mate.
Yeah.
I must have it wrong. It must be.
No, I think you have it right because he is a good commentator, but he is a very, very floral commentator. Like you don't get simple commentary from Jamie ever.
Allan, what's your hands in the ruck this week?
Well, I actually prepped one because usually I'm like, "Oh, come back to me," like the person that's not prepped at a restaurant. So I was looking and I discovered Ross Byrne showing the type of insight that really stresses that his 22 Ireland caps are mostly down to Joey Carberry's knees being knackered. And him saying that the escort defender crackdown could see locks converted to wings. So if you're kicking to the wings, we'll just convert locks to wingers. And it'll be the death of people like Darcy Graham and the like. And I just think, you get the Darcy Grahams and Cheslin Colbys of this world, A, do pretty good job of competing for high balls, and B, if you put them in the wing against, someone like Freddie Stewart, who's got the turning circle of an oil tanker, they are not going to be afraid of how good they are in the air. They're going to be licking their lips at how much they're going to be able to run past them. And I think the idea that we've got forwards, Josh Bayliss, Gregor Brown, they've been out in the wings, they've done stuff. They can do a job out there, but no one's thinking they're actually going to put them there just for winning kicks back. I think the escort defender crackdown is actually quite good because it means that teams now have a choice. Instead of kicking deep so they're further away, you can kick to compete, risk getting it back. There's tap backs, and it's all very exciting. And then, Ross Byrne just irritated me.
Yeah, but Ross Byrne's Irish, right? He's used to slow wingers, so.
Yeah, but I mean, we've already got big wingers. We've got Doohan. We've got, although admittedly Doohan's, no one's picking Doohan for his ability in the air. Defensively, attackingly, he's not. Offensively, he's not bad at it. But George North's, Freddie Stewart. There are a lot of big, tall wingers that are good in the air. You don't need to be picking second rows there. I just think it was a bit old man shouts at cloud, and it really annoyed me. Maybe it was just the reminder of the continued existence of Ross Byrne. Maybe that's what annoyed me.
Well, there's that. I think the Irish were at it pretty much over the last couple of weeks anyway, because my hands in the ruck was basically the Irish press telling everyone that Ireland now have a guaranteed way of getting to the Rugby World Cup finals with their pool pick. And it's like, hang on a minute, we're in fucking their pool again.
I have saved that just for the inevitable quarter-final exit, and I will be pumping. I will be remaining on X just for that in 2027, just so I can just fire it out and wind people up like I'm Johnny McGinty.
All our group means, all our pool means in the World Cup is that Ireland are going to go out in the quarterfinals to a far lesser team. So it's like, it doesn't fucking matter, does it? Anyway, any more, gentlemen?
I do need to remind you all to bug John Anderson about who is the leading try scorer in the URC right now.
Is it Benetton by any chance?
Oh, yes. It's Lewis Lennon.
I love the way. Benetton. Oh, yes. You just have to bring the hands up here, David. Come on.
Do you know what? I love the fact that no. When he said it, they were at the tail end of being a joke team. And everyone still remembers it. Because they are a really, really good team. And I think he maybe said it 6 years ago.
But to his credit, he doubles down every week.
Yeah.
After the Rainbow Cup, John's like, they're shit.
Yeah.
Not even a real trophy.
If he said, they were a joke team then, they've definitely improved, this wouldn't be funny anymore, but he hasn't until we get to wind him up about it.
Lewis Leidick, good-looking boy.
I tell you, liners though. Who do you think? You got a liner in Italy. You got a liner in Australia. It's like what are they all? What is that family thinking? If you look at what the Barretts did, they could have all brought them into one team and had a super team.
Exactly. So, did y'all know there's been 278 tries in the URC over these 46 matches? Meaning the URC is averaging 6 tries per game. That's exciting in rugby we're looking at.
That's done wonders for my sleep hygiene, David. Thank you.
I don't know if it's sleep that's going to really help you that much.
Yeah.
I think you should be hygienic all the time, Jonny, not just when you're sleeping.
Yeah, especially his black pudding and grated cheese hygiene needs to be sorted out regularly.
Yeah, it might be the putting cheese on everything. I'm not quite sure.
Well, just clear. Anyway, we will leave it at that. I think Jonny's about to expire. Allan's about to slope off and finish that last whiskey, and David is about to go and do a whole day of work. I think because
I have to go make dinner for my family.
There we go. Exactly. So. Thank you to Jonny, Allan, and to David for joining us. It's always a huge pleasure to have you on the pod, David. You always bring something nice along with you, and it's just fabulous. But it's always great to have you on.
I've got swearing. I crunk the numbers. I do stuff.
Yeah, the swearing. I have to say that's the first time we've had you on the Patreon and outsworn all three of us. That's a pretty
wow,
damn good.
I might have done that.
Well,
I left a note upstairs for my son saying, by the way, if you hear a lot of swearing, I'm really sorry.
I'm going to come onto your podcast next and say, well, actually, if you look at the stats, can I tell you who's sworn the most on our podcast? And go through the stats of that, and it'll be.
I think it's because we said we were missing Ian Hay. I think that's
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
That
So thank you all for joining us. Thanks for coming through. Your patrons, we are nothing without you, patrons. So thank you so much, and hopefully you've enjoyed this chat about everything. And hold on, David's bringing the Christmas tree over. Oh yeah, it says URC Christmas tree.
Yeah, I love the URC Christmas tree.
It's the UR tree.
nice.
The UR tree. Boom. There you go. A pun straight in there.
£2 for David.
Yeah.
So we'll just take him up at 10 and we'll put you in my tab, David. Don't worry. Your money's not good here.
Thanks again, and it's a good night from me, and it's a good night from all the guys.
Bye.
Good evening, everyone.
See you all.